Coming to you pre-recorded in multiple locations. We're not the home of the ghost with the most, but I would like to boast I make pretty good toast. And I think that's hella rad. We're your hosts, Andrew and Nathan. Nathan, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I'm happy to be here recording because I wasn't on my game last week. I just gotta admit it and throw it out there. It wasn't a good performance, and I feel really shitty about it. And glad to be able to come back here and redeem myself a little bit.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I didn't notice. You always suck. So
yeah. Well, my C work was coming out last week, so I got to bring it back up to an A.
Or a B, All right. So, do you have any non-sponsors you'd like to not thank?
Yeah, just reiterate that Gatorade is not a sponsor and never will be. And just real quick on that, I've been watching a lot of hockey and basketball playoffs, so a lot of fucking Gatorade commercials and the Gatorade Flow or whatever shit that no one asked for, and they're trying to shove down our throats now. Like, the commercial's just awful. I think we can all agree the real smooth. Shut the fuck up.
I mean, G2 was so successful. Why not just G3? I mean, come on. Eventually they'll make it to G6 and then they can start putting those jets in their commercial. And speaking of jets, Boeing is also not a sponsor because I don't understand why Boeing needs commercials at all. Why do you need advertising? You sell your planes to other big companies.
Yeah, I don't need to know.
Yeah, there's no need to waste any money. Like, everybody knows. Everybody knows. All right? That's it.
Just by virtue of the fact that they don't need to advertise, we won't ever allow them to advertise.
Yeah, I'm like, none of our audience is going to buy a plane ever. So
it's a fair point.
I'm done with this. What are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I'm drinking Dead Guy Ale by Rogue.
Oh, I've actually been to one of their breweries, and I don't know if it's their main location, but I've been to one of their locations in Portland. The waitress was a jerk because apparently people from Portland, and I think it's just Portland, maybe it's Oregon in general, they do not like people from California. So we were just there visiting, but the waitress insisted on being a biatch just because she saw our California driver's license and talked their ear off about how all the people coming to Portland from California are raising all of their rents. I was like, cool, I just want a beer and I'm paying you money to help you pay for your rent. So if you could just stop, that'd be great.
Yeah, I guess they have some basis of hatred, but it's still a dick move. What are you drinking?
I am drinking Thorn Street once again, but this time it's Hopster Pot. It is a New England style India Pale Ale. Hazy, raw, tropical, and oh so juicy, according to their description on the can.
Well, I didn't get a fucking description on my bottle. You got to try and one-up me on the beer over here?
Yeah, they're like, it's fucking made of dead guys. That's it.
That would be pretty awesome. It would taste like ass, but the idea of it is nice. Yeah.
I'd drink dead people if it was in a bottle. It's called Soylent Cola, all right?
It's already out there, man.
That shit, it baffled me. Like, I think it's some, like, one of the Silicon Valley, like, an all-in-one, like, powdered shake that he calls Soylent. And I'm like, you're just making the like, Soylent Greens joke, but you're actually trying to sell this to people, so I don't think that's a smart move, but nobody really knows what the hell I'm talking about, so apparently it did backfire on him. Speaking of tech billionaires, you had some information on John McAfee you wanted to continue with?
Yeah, I mean, not to dip into that well again, but I couldn't help it. So some of you may not know that he's like a huge crypto shill. He's all about cryptocurrency, and of course we know the story that Andrew brought to light, at least to our audience and to me, about the poop on his face, which is great. Yeah, which I don't know why I didn't just start following him on Twitter right then and there when you told me that, but I follow Bitcoin Private, and not to get too into it, but they're like a hard fork that incorporates ZK Snark's privacy protocol into Bitcoin. The At least their like blockchain technology. And he referenced them as what he would say would be like the new Monero coin, and Monero is the top privacy coin as it stands in Coin Market Cap.
What's
Um,
privacy coin?
well, like cryptocurrencies that have transaction protocols that allow private transactions.
Oh, I always assumed they were all like that was the big selling point for all of them, that it was like anonymous, except for was that Ripple? That was one that was
Ripple is a total crock of shit. Like anyone that, so not to get too into that, but so just to hold Ripple, you have to have $20 and you can never remove it or take it out. So like $20 worth of Ripple is required, or is it's 20 Ripple, excuse me. But once you have that in your wallet, then it's just stuck. And then it's really designed for banks to transfer money between each other. But people saw an opportunity for investment, but I think it was misleading to a lot of other people because it jumped up the market cap so high and it got a lot of exposure, and people didn't realize it's effectively useless for consumers.
everybody that has Ripple right now is just like, shut up, shut up, shut up.
Well, you can make money on exchanges with it, but in terms of practical use, it'll absolutely never be practical for a consumer to have Ripple, based on what I know about it.
Like most cryptocurrency.
Right. So to get back on track, so he's basically comparing Bitcoin Private to the top privacy cryptocurrency coin, and people were kind of celebrating it in a sense. And I couldn't help myself on the Reddit, but link to the video the lady's talking about getting shit on by him. And some guy got so mad about it because he was saying this has nothing to do with this. Why you bring up this? Like, you must really care about what he likes sexually. And maybe he had a little bit of a point, but it made me question, like, stuff that people think or do in their personal life that comes to light is going to color your opinion. Whether that's fair or not, I guess, is the part that's up to debate. But the one thing that came out of that is people in the community were talking about his Twitter recently, which just kind of further goes into this debate. And did you get a chance to see any of it? Or?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
Well, I just want to read you one or two that really kind of give you an idea of just how batshit crazy this guy appears to be. This is one from yesterday that says, "Notes from our blue team. Boss is double in a motorcade populated with all our doubles. Looks nothing at all like him, but he and our others are carrying all our electronic devices. Everyone is following him. No one is following us. No one believes their eyes anymore." Notes from the red team. All going dark while we do our daily swap of electronics. We'll be back when boss says so. We are. And then it lists a bunch of Twitter handles of different McAfee people.
Wow. I initially was like, this is some Kanye West shit, but this is even weirder than that.
So the only thing that, again, basically, you get where I'm going with this, though, but I just had to read those tweets because they're so fucking crazy.
Yeah, it sounds like so like paranoid and crazy, and I mean, there's got to be some context if you dig deep enough, but yeah, on the surface level, that seems crazy. And yeah, to the point of like people judging him for his sexual fetishes. I mean, it's in your own, I mean, it's perfectly fine. Like, you obviously want to know somebody's like mental faculties. Like, if you're going to listen to somebody's opinion, yeah, if you're listening to someone's opinion and not fact, you definitely want some basis of what their mental state is. Like, it's like you don't listen to like crazy ass people on the sidewalk talking about the apocalypse coming. Like, it's their opinion that it's going to happen. But if they're fucking insane, like, you're not going to believe it. The fact that he's into getting pooped on his face has a lot of bearing into any opinions he has about anything finance or otherwise.
And so, like, that argument I saw in there would be, in spite of the fact that he's a tech tech millionaire and successful, or for me personally, I agree with you. Like, that even with that, it still colors my opinion of what he says. But even with the success, does that like allow you those, like, I guess, more
Yeah.
liberties with that kind of thing? So it was interesting. It turns out he's said in the past that you can pay him $110,000 or something, and he'll tweet about your cryptocurrency. So that totally discredits him, anyways. Outside of all that, but
That's like probably the entire value of most people's fucking startup cryptocurrency. Like if you're lucky that it's that like the total value of all your coins is 100,000. Like what was Bitcoin? How many Bitcoin are there total?
it's like 20 million or 21, not million, or I don't know. Shit, man. Yeah.
So it was like we'll say it was like there's 20 million Bitcoin total, right? And then they're valued at like a penny when they started, right?
I mean, really, when it starts, you could argue that they had literally no value.
Yeah. So we'll say it was no value, but it like when you could first buy it, you were buying like a Bitcoin for a penny. So even when it was first traded, Bitcoin, the biggest one, was still only worth like all the Bitcoin in existence was only worth $200,000. So to try and pay somebody 100,000 to get it pumped up by this fuck.
Well, the only thing with that is the way that the proof of work cryptocurrencies work is that it's actually, I mean, you would, at that time, the circulating supply of Bitcoin would have been like just a few thousand or whatnot, and then they have the halving after you mine so much
Yeah, they
more.
had to have mined the rest.
Yeah.
Well, if we haven't lost our entire listening audience talking about Bitcoin for Bitcoin and
McAfee.
poopy John McAfee for the last 15 minutes, we'll change subjects now. I'm always eager to talk about new technologies and future technologies, and I never had a way to package it in a normal conversation, but I think I've found a way to do this. So I want to talk to you about technology or just things in general that you wish existed. And to start it, I'm going to talk about jetpacks. I have wished like my entire life since what was that movie? I think it was Brendan Fraser, the great Brendan Fraser. Rocket Man? No,
Well,
no,
or there
no, the
was the
Rocketeer. The
Rocketeer, but
Rocketeer, yeah.
it wasn't Brendan Fraser, but it was someone less fat, I think.
What was the Rocket Man was with Harlan Williams.
That fucking movie is so bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I just remember the only memory I have is him. I think he was like would wear an astronaut helmet and sit inside of a washing machine, like to simulate like astronaut training as a kid. But anyways, yeah,
So just to be clear, you were inspired by the Rocketeer and not Rocket Man.
the Rocketeer. And I was like, those things are so. But then like, there's just it's so impossibly like difficult to like make that work just without like. How do you not just burn your legs off every time or just like die immediately on every single flight test?
Well, somebody's got to pay the price, for the rest of us to get to use it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Like I just think back to all those like all like the G-force test simulations where they just strap somebody to a rocket sled on train tracks and just have them keep running drills until they die. Like there's just stories these like uh I'm sure they're like military like test pilots just like would go until their eyes all the blood vessels just pop in their eyes from like hitting in these chairs. But um anyways, yeah, I just wish jetpacks existed. I think it would be like could you imagine the chaos of like people just flying these like fucking things around? We already saw like drone like what complications drones cause. Like imagine like New York City, you just have people like hopping off the top of just jumping from building to building, like flying out windows and shit.
Yeah, it'd be an anarchy state.
Oh yeah, crime would be. I think they could make them, but because of now that I think about all the implications, they're just keeping it. the government's keeping it secret.
Well, I mean, they have videos of them like testing out jetpacks. We know that they're working on it.
Yeah, the problem is like the fuel, the amount of fuel you can store.
Fucking, that's what the oil companies want you to think.
Yeah. They're like, we can go across a football stadium like 50 feet off the ground and that's it. Then it's done.
Runs on pure coal.
Just fucking, what were the coal rollers? Do you know what that is?
No.
People in like the South where they just, I'm pretty sure they just cut out the catalytic converters on their car and just put up like big rig stacks and just pump out like just black smoke, like super saturated with gas that didn't burn. They're just like, it's just cool as shit to them.
It is cool. I mean, I can't argue that. Sounds cool.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's gonna talk shit when you're spewing black smoke out of your car. They're like, this guy clearly doesn't give a shit, so there's nothing I can say to change his mind. Like, sir, you know you're polluting the environment. And they're just pussy. You're like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, imagine that guy on a jetpack.
Yeah, there we go. Oh man, fucking rednecks with jetpacks would be the greatest thing ever. They're like, I'm gonna hook up a nitrous tank to this bad boy and launch myself a lake. I ain't gonna get hurt. Or could you imagine like criminals using jetpacks? Just how insane it would be. Just like you rob a bank or convenience store, and then you just fucking blast off.
Yeah, and you want this to be the reality?
The more and more I get into it, the more of a bad idea I think it would be. But you have like high speed chase instead of like a high speed chase with a cop car, you just have like a helicopter trying to net this dude, and then you die. Like when you get caught, you die 100% of the time. Like you're dropping out of the air like couple 100 feet, and then you just explode on impact.
Well, they'll start developing ones that have like, razor blades that come out and cut the fucking net, and then you just keep fucking tooling off. You're like, fuck you, copper, I'm out of here.
Yeah, imagine cop shows with jetpacks. That would just be that would be the number one rated TV show into like forever. Like I would watch that you could put it on every single night and it would be awesome. You just got to get like it has to get to the point where the jetpacks get so cheap that petty criminals can afford them. So they're just like handguns or something.
No, you're turning me around on the jetpack thing. I'm a lot more excited about it.
Oh yeah, there's just so many possibilities. It'd be like it revolutionized society just like the internet did.
This is the most important invention since, the internet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if if they did actually start putting out a jetpack cops show and we took them on as an advertiser. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Oh, it'd be another cool invention that I wish existed was teleporters. Like we would just be the laziest. Like that would phase out cars instantly.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're just ripping up all the roads and like infrastructure to get places to fuel all the teleporters for people to just hop around all the time.
Yeah, what end up happening is it'll be the rich people doing that and using the teleporters, and the rest of us poor schmucks aren't going to even have roads anymore to fucking tool around in.
Yeah. It does always bring up an interesting controversy where like how exactly do the teleporters work? So I think it was like Star Trek had this issue where it's basically they're just disintegrating you in one place and then making a copy of you somewhere else. So is it still really you or just a copy of you every time you use a teleporter? And if that's the case, would you want to use it if you're just like, it's just a suicide booth and then you have a copy machine somewhere else?
Well, you kind of get into like a lot of concepts in terms of like existence or even like dimensional time, really, I think with that. And I don't really have an opinion. Like if you're gonna have to teleport to do something, for survival, then obviously I don't have a choice. But if you know for a fact that teleporting kills your current state of being and then you're recreated, I think I would like hold off on it. I'd be like, well, let's maybe not do that.
It'd be like more of a necessity.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're like it's a survival thing, I think most people would agree that you'd take the chance, take the plunge. Like, even if you wouldn't admit it, your survival mechanism would kick in. I believe, and you would just do it. But
They had an interesting approach to it in the recent Netflix show Altered Carbon, and then there was a sci-fi show called Dark Matter that took a similar approach where Dark Matter, they would just download your consciousness and then upload it into a body somewhere else. Like, so it because they could travel across like the galaxy. So it'd be like, okay, you go to one of these stations, you go into the pod, they put you under anesthesia, download your brain and upload it to a body in another station on the other side of the galaxy. You have all your experiences there, and then you when you're done, you just re-download all the information that you experienced in that new body onto your old one that's onto your original one that's sleeping. So you would just have all those memories of being there, but you weren't actually there. It was just a copy of you experiencing all these things, and then it got downloaded to you. You basically dreamed it.
and then what do they do with the copy?
It's just wiped. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be your body. It could just be somebody else's. Like, it'd just be a dummy body.
Oh, I see.
Whereas like Altered Carbon would just be like a full-on memory. They have a chip implanted in your spine, and it would be a full-on memory transfer. Your consciousness and memories are transferred out of one body and then downloaded into another and then put back.
Yeah, I mean, outside of obviously all of this is theoretical. I don't really know if, for me, if we wanted the fantasy of teleporter, just take me and fucking magically put me over there.
Yeah. I don't want to know the science behind this. It just kills it.
It's like, oh, you don't want to, like, oh, this is really good. What's in it? And then they tell you, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound so good. I mean, I liked it before. Where, like, if you're teleporting around, you don't know any better. They're like, what really happens is, you're like, oh, really? So I'm not me? And then you have an existential crisis or something.
The funny conundrum that they had in that Dark Matter show was that if you get killed when you're like off in another space station or whatever, you get killed before you're able to download the memories back, then you just wake up and you have no idea what happened. It's just like, yeah, you got killed now and you'll never know why.
See, I mean, that's not really like teleporting, right? That's just like a weird Matrix kind of thing.
It's a roundabout way of doing it. You still get to you get to experience being in different locations.
It's not really a teleporter then, in a sense. It's just more like almost like a simulation kind of program, but almost in like a more real sense, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I'd rather see that technology used. There was an anime called Sword Art Online, where the character basically wear these hats, and when they would go into basically a dreamlike state, and then you would be in your dreams is where you would play the video game. And I was like, that shit is where like video game technology needs to go.
Well, just to make everybody able to lucid dream, basically.
Yeah, well, yeah, to a degree it's dreaming, but like the parameters of the game are controlled. The hard part would be like in the context of the show, they're playing like a multiplayer RPG. So it'd be really hard to link all these people's minds together. But I think.
Yeah, I would imagine that'd be hard to link people's minds together in a fucking dream video game simulator.
I just say it so nonchalantly, like it's not a big deal. Like, yeah, it's like a couple of years off. We're almost there.
I still have problems playing games online with people in the same city sometimes, and we're not mind melding either.
Mind melding, but yeah, that shit would be rad.
Yeah, for me personally, not so much on the simulation end and all that. Like, I'd rather just be able to magically teleport and also just lucid dream. I feel like it'd be such a bummer to be able to lucid dream, but then have like restrictions, you know? You're like, I can almost do everything I want to do, but not quite.
Well, I mean, it's got to be like you get bored of it like right away,
Well,
right?
then but that's where reality would come for me. I don't know. I just like, I get enough enjoyment out of just living in reality and playing games here that I don't think I would I think it would be like a totally different, more intimate, personal experience that I wouldn't want to have like that. Yeah, I wouldn't even want like reminders of restriction and the restrictions of reality or bounds of gravity and those kind of things.
Wait, I mean, that could just be a game where it's like just purely the game is just like pure sandbox and they give you all these like functions. Because the problem with actual lucid dreaming is like you can wake up if you like if it gets too crazy. So the idea here is like you're forced under and you have to like log out of the game to actually wake up. So you could just have a game that's just pure sandbox. But I don't know. I see some enjoyment in like imagine playing like Doom or like some of these VR games where you're actually there aside from like pain, but that shit would be insane.
I already get fucking scared when somebody sneaks up on me on PUBG. I don't think I want to be experiencing doom in reality, you know.
Oh yeah, that would probably be that's probably the worst case scenario of just terror.
No, but I get what you mean. But it just yeah, I would be on the Minecraft version of it.
Oh, I think Portal would be a good start.
Considering I can't even ride a roller coaster without feeling sick, it would. Hopefully, they would like take that out of the equation because I would see myself getting like hella woozy, fucking spinning around and jumping around.
Just wake up with just vomit. Yeah, if anybody's gonna develop this, it's probably just the porn industry. They're the one pushing all these weird technologies.
We got all these ideas, but it's just gonna be porn.
And on that note, we're gonna take a commercial break. Yaboo.
Are you sick of drinking beer above freezing temperatures? Are you looking for the absolute coldest beer on the planet? Try new Frostbite Beer. Brewed straight from water melted off the coldest icebergs in the whole world, our patented brewing technology synthesizes our beer with antifreeze to ensure you can drink the absolute coldest beer on the planet. Only the coldest, most emotionally distant people in the whole world are allowed to brew Frostbite Beer to ensure the absolute coldest, most refreshing beer possible. We suggest you enjoy Frostbite Beer in temperatures below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 0 degrees Celsius for all your Frenchies out there.
Frostbite beer is technically sold as an art piece due to extremely harsh and unfair regulations against our antifreeze synthesis brewing method. By opening a can of Frostbite, you agree to waive your rights to litigate any claims of health issues arising from consumption of Frostbite beer.
This ain't your daddy's cold beer. This is Frostbite.
Hi there, I'm Darla Dunce, founder and CEO of Toilet Barn. Are you in the market for a new turd trough? Well, head on down to our showroom and try out our porcelain poop chutes. That's right, all our toilet models have fully working plumbing so you can shit and shop. We even got a Burger Town attached if you need fuel for your fart cannon.
By entering any retail Toilet Barn location, you relinquish your rights to any and all fecal materials deposited into Toilet Barn toilets. Any customer caught leaving an upper decker will be required to purchase said toilet.
Head on down to Toilet Barn. Don't worry, we'll flush for you.
Yaboo. All right, and we're back from our commercial break, where we spent the entire time arguing about how cool jetpack cops would be, and
Somebody produced that show already. Jesus Christ.
I will watch it. I will watch it 100% of the time. I will be a strong advocate. First, we need to get jetpacks to a reasonable price so that there can be a seedy black market for criminals to buy them cheaply, and then the jetpack cops.
Whoa, whoa. Hey, don't give them all the ideas for free now. Let them come to us, and then, we'll give them some more.
So last week we talked about a new segment we wanted to do. Let's just roll the intro.
Power Underwhelming.
With underwhelming power comes no responsibility.
So these are just shitty superpowers, and then we try to find a way for them to actually be practical. So I'll go with my first one if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
So my first idea for a shitty superpower was to turn any citrus fruit into any other citrus fruit. So basically, you could turn limes into lemons or grapefruits or mandarin oranges or even an orange or a tangelo. A tangelo is a orange mixed with a tangerine, for those who didn't know.
Can you give me a few more examples, or?
Nope, that's all the citrus fruit I know.
You didn't give me a whole lot of time to think on these ones, but no, the main thing I could think of is for this one, it require a lot of premeditated planning, or I guess that's inherently premeditated, but you'd have to like devise some scenario where you're like with your nemesis and he's like eating a certain kind of fruit, but he happens to be allergic to another kind of citrus fruit, and you switch it on him at the last second and then he dies.
Well, that's where my thought process was when I came up with the idea. Was like, I don't know if you can be allergic to one citrus fruit versus another. Like, I feel like they're all in the same family, so it's like maybe I always feel like maybe citrus is like the underlying whatever commonality groups them all together as citrus fruits. That's what the allergy is based on. So if they're not allergic to one, they're not allergic to any. But I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, so that's just my guess.
All right. Well, thanks for just shitting all over my first attempt. Thank you.
I did, however, think of a scenario based off of Ant-Man where you could actually be a reasonable superhero. It's not great, but like say you loft a fucking lime really high into the air, and then while it's high up in the air, you turn it into a grapefruit that is much larger. So on the trip down, it's got a lot more velocity, and you can actually injure somebody with it. But that still requires a lot of fucking trajectory planning. And I don't know.
Hey, am I supposed to be doing it, or are you?
I'm just saying, my own loophole. There's the only potential. I'm giving you some fodder. It's the only potential I can see where.
Well, you didn't even let me attempt another one before you just come on. What the fuck is this segment then? Is
you only sound like you had one, motherfucker. All right. Well, now it's your turn, you son of a bitch.
What? So I don't get to think about the citrus fruit anymore? It's a one
can,
pop
you
and
can.
then you're done?
One pump chump.
Okay. So the one I picked was the ability to turn parrots into parakeets.
What's the difference between a parrot? Like, what? A parakeet's just smaller, right?
Have you seen it? You don't know the difference between a parrot and a parakeet?
No, I did no
Well,
research.
you did request to see this beforehand, and I put it up far in advance. You
motherfucker, you're ruining all the secrets.
You're the one that shit on the whole segment. You're like basically just doing your own superpower.
Yeah. I don't need your logic and reasoning.
But go ahead, go.
I figure it's a very specific situation where the superhero's arch nemesis has like a parrot, like it's a fucking they have the lap cats, like what was the villain on Dr. Gadget or Inspector Gadget?
Cats or something.
Dr. Right? Katz. Yeah, and he had his weird claw. No, Dr. Claw.
Oh, there you go. That's right.
That was his name. I was like, he had that weird claw hand. What was his name? Yeah, but Dr. Claw had that fucking cat. So this totally relies on like this being their first encounter. And he doesn't know that his superpower is turning parrots into parakeets. So he turns the villain's parrot into a parakeet and says that he swapped it out and he'll hold it for ransom. So he's got leverage over him.
That's pretty good.
Little does he know, it's the same fucking bird.
You get Jafar. He'd be a great villain to mess with, right?
Yeah, fucking Iago into a shittier little version of Iago. Yeah.
Turns into a speechless parakeet. You don't have to fucking hear that Guilford Godfrey anymore.
I've heard that that's not even his real voice. It's just all a shtick.
Oh, big surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, because why would anybody talk like this all the fucking time?
This is funny, right? I'm a comedian, huh?
There's no way you could have a healthy like relationship with a woman speaking like that all the time.
Well, I'd say those were both equally difficult. I'm not gonna go for explaining mine or anything. I really didn't have any kind of scenario for it. Just throwing it out there, seeing what would happen.
I did have another one. This one was pretty basic, but I based it off of Aquaman's shitty power to speak to fish. But what if somebody could speak to plants?
Yeah, it's pretty shitty. I guess the only benefit you can really get from the plants is information. I would kind of guess. Plants are not active at all, so
Yeah, they can't see, they have no eyes, so they can't see anything. I've heard scientific studies that they do somehow have the ability to hear. So you could be like, yeah, I heard that motherfucker talking about killing somebody in the park while he was laying on me the other day.
yeah. I mean, there's some sound vibrations from speech and the leaves. I'm sure the leaves will ruffle away and they interpret that. I don't know, probably not. But.
They also don't understand English or have any idea what the person looked like. So even if they could talk to you, what useful information are they gonna tell you? They're like,
so is it a superpower or not? Is the fucking Aquaman, what useful information do fish give him? He can still talk to him.
yeah, but fish can like move fast and attack people. So
Yeah, but the insinuation is that a plant won't understand what I'm saying. We'll find ways to communicate, don't worry. But like if he grows a branch here, like grow a branch here and that come back in a few weeks, like he knew if he grows a branch here, it means that that guy said something. So now I know.
all they do the entire time is just gripe about some asshole that picked their fruit. They're like, I fucking grew this baby apple. It took me so long, and this dickhead just picked it off and ate it right in front of me. Go find that guy. Beat his ass.
Most of it is just listening to them for a while and then like getting to the point where they're done talking. You're like, yeah, so about those guys that came in here earlier, the ones that didn't pick the fruit, the other guys that were just talking, what were they saying? Yeah. Oh, I wasn't paying attention to that. I was worried about my fruit. You're like, you motherfucking son of a bitch. If I could just change your fruit from one citrus to another, then I'd fucking show you.
That could be a thing where you just change the fruit on a tree from one to another and make the person think they're going insane. This is a grapefruit tree. How is there lemons on it?
I guess if it's a reality in which there are superpowers, they may not be as freaked out. But if it's like one of those things where it's all secret and nobody really knows, yeah, I would be pretty freaked out.
You're like, these are the first superpowers that emerge, changing citrus fruits over. I don't want to live in this world anymore.
It's all like the early stages of superpower evolution. Like, well, at first they were only able to change one citrus fruit to another and talk to trees and turn parrots into parakeets, but eventually they were able to. Well, here, I'll just throw out my the second one I have is the ability to float, but only while you're running full speed. And as soon as you slow down or like stop a full speed running motion and exertion, then you stop floating.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question because I was like, so you don't actually have to be moving forward, you just have to be moving your legs really quickly.
Yeah, you have to be basically like, you're running, in essence, you're running full speed, but you're floating. So you're not necessarily like moving, right? Or, I mean, you're floating with the momentum, but
Just picture that because of wind resistance, after you start floating, fairly quickly you will just start hovering in place while running. You're just running in place really fast, not doing anything but hovering slightly off the ground.
yeah, that's why I picked it. Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is like Wiley, the Road Coyote situations where you just run yourself off a cliff, but you just keep the fucking motion going. So you're slightly floating above the ground, but even then, you're still gonna fall because I assume you need the ground underneath you. So you need like the 2-3 inch gap. So then you're in this panic mode where you're running really fast, just praying to God that when you get close to the ground, your hover ability is strong enough not to just fucking squash you into the ground.
You got to be careful, right? Like you stop running full speed and then you fall, and then you got to start running full speed again and start floating again. And then you got to time it right, like slowly let yourself down. So it could be pretty cool. Yeah.
Like you're just like skipping kind of, you're just like fucking these little hover leaps.
You're like, you float, you fall down a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start running motion real fast in the air, and then you start floating some more. Yeah.
But you're still just way slower than anybody that just runs normally. I gotta say, there is no situation I can think of where you could effectively fight crime on that. Because even if the villain had a layer where he had like a lava moat or something that you needed to get across, like it's not gonna work out that well. It's like a water crocodile moat. Those motherfuckers will just bite you when you're hovering above the. Yeah, that brings my next question. Can you hover? Do you have to be hovering above ground, or can you hover above water when you do this?
It's floating, so you're magically floating while you're doing it. It doesn't matter what's under you.
Okay.
So you got that going for you.
You have to be hovering above some substance other than air, right? So it has to be like land or water.
Yeah, I mean, you're floating, so whatever's you got to be able to start running in the first place. Would be, I guess, the first criteria.
Yeah, there's truly no practical use for that power.
Yeah, I didn't think of one either. I was hoping you would.
Congratulations, flawless victory.
I wouldn't consider any of my examples good,
You're like, those were garbage ideas. This is a garbage segment. Nobody wins.
No, I think that we came up with good, super useless superpowers that they're so good that it was all of those examples are a huge stretch.
We did a too good of a job.
That's the fun of it, though. Yeah.
I like that take on it. You got any other information you want to update us on?
Oh, you know it, man. It's the Faberge Egg update, and last week I just really fucked up. I was not doing a good job. I misspoke and didn't have any really good info, and I just felt really shitty about it. I feel like I let people down. So it's going to be better this week. As we all know, of the 50 jeweled imperial eggs, only 43 are still known to exist today. Last egg found in 2014, the third imperial Easter egg. And of course, this update is basically, will any more be found? And if they are, I'll let you know. I do speculate that the next egg found will be the Royal Danish egg, which was made in 1903. I'm sticking with that speculation. I believe that will be the one that's found next. So that's pretty much the update. I did want to just give a little bit more info about Victor Vekselberg because I mentioned him last time and I didn't really give him a fair shake. So he owns 9 of the Imperial Faberge eggs. He bought them from the Forbes family, which is kind of weird. He paid $100 million apparently. He also oranged some Kelch and some of the other Fabergé eggs, but they aren't the Imperial ones, so no one gives a shit about those. But to his credit, I was kind of shitting on him last week, but he did open the Fabergé Museum in St. Petersburg, so I do got to give him credit for allowing the public to go see Fabergé eggs. I was kind of ill-informed last week about his situation with the eggs, so I apologize.
That just sounds like the exact same update from last week, but okay.
You got to at least want to listen to what I'm saying, Andrew. You can't just ignore it and then say it's the same
I didn't
thing.
interrupt you.
Yeah,
I didn't interrupt you at all this
clearly
time.
gave more information, more accurate and good information this time.
I really hope that Fabergé eggs go the way of Pokemon cards and baseball cards, for that matter. We were at a swap meet over the weekend, and I see on this table of just somebody's booth, they just had like 10 binders just filled with baseball cards. Like, it was kind of sad. I'm like, somebody went through all this trouble collecting these things, thinking they were like gonna be on to something. They had, little nest egg, if you will, and it just ends up fucking being sold on a table with 10 other books, all worth just like $1. Just garbage. Like, nobody gives a shit anymore.
Yeah, I find it kind of insulting that you're trying to equate Fabergé eggs to baseball cards, motherfucker. You fucking some shitty ass baseball cards you could buy at any hobby store. I see what you're trying to do here. It's not, you can't, no, just fucking wrong.
No, there's no correlation here.
Not at all.
Fabergé egg are by far much superior to baseball cards. I mean, just the material. What are the materials used in Fabergé eggs? Is it just gold, or do they have porcelain in there? They got jewels.
So they're extremely varied, and a lot of them like will have like little jeweled or not prizes, but like treats inside or whatever stupid shit you want to call it.
How would you know unless you smashed it open?
Well, some of them open, so they're like designed to open.
Oh.
My favorite one actually is because it has cock in the name, cockerel. It's pretty awesome, but it's actually got a fucking cuckoo clock built into the fucking egg. It's crazy.
That's legit. That has a practical use.
Yeah, it's so practical, so great.
That's the one we need to heist. So it's our clock.
We got to get it from old Vicky boy over there.
Oh, Vicky boy. Hey, how about you donate that egg you spent like $30 million on? You donated it to this podcast.
We need an official Fabergé egg of the Hella Rad podcast, and I think the cockerel one, that's the one.
Yeah, we need 2.
That's kind of a tall order, but I do agree with it. We do need 2.
If we can heist one, we can heist 2 of them.
It's kind of weird how he ended up getting him too. Like, for some reason, Malcolm Forbes, because that fact that he bought him from the Forbes family, like, really kind of, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's that about? So he's just, Forbes, so motherfucking Malcolm Forbes back at, World War One day, like when Fabergé eggs were actually still being made. Like, it's kind of like when the Forbes thing starts too at the end of the Russian imperial dynasty, and for some reason he just like it was on a vendetta to fucking have more Fabergé eggs than Russia itself, than the Soviet Union. So he was like fucking hunting them down to buy them, and he's just like trying to win what they called the egg war amidst the Cold War, which is so weird.
He's like, you may have a bigger penis and more money, but I've got more Fabergé eggs.
Yeah, tell me that doesn't make me a bad motherfucker. Look at these.
Look at these eggs, motherfucker. Oh, thank you for that exciting Fabergé egg update.
Much better. I know. I feel like I'll let a lot of people, especially after you were telling me people were actually interested in the Fabergé egg update. Like, I fucking can't even explain it. What I was trying to do last week, I gave the wrong numbers. So sorry, everybody. But you're welcome for this update. I know is very good.
You're really stepping up your Fabergé egg game.
I'm just getting it back to where it was.
Oh yeah, I started out at A+. dipped to a C, and now we're getting back to an A. I think that's gonna conclude our show for the night. Nathan, you want to close us out?
Yeah, thank you for listening, and make sure to check us out on Twitter at It's Hella Rad, SoundCloud / It's Hella Rad. We have a YouTube, but can't get a custom username domain on that yet, so look up Hella Rad, and we should be pretty close to the top if you're interested.
I found it on the YouTube search, and it was like the third one down, so not too hard to find.
So there's that, and yeah, also we have a Discord link on the Twitter for any reason you'd ever actually want to talk to us directly that way. And then my quick movie recommendation for the week is Amadeus. It's a really good movie.
Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad.